Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted, natural, spiritual. I hope that this video finds you all well as we are concluding and ending the Sabbath. I hope that everyone is doing well. I'm just waiting a few minutes here. As you know that how you doing, Sister Kay? As you all know, we did not come on live today, and we certainly missed being on live today, but we did miss it. And the reason why is that I wanted the congregation to get a live lesson of the 5-part series that Pastor Bowie is doing from the Israel of God up in Riverdale, and we did. So we tuned into that today. Next week we'll be back regularly scheduled, but at the same time, I wanted to really get a little break. How you doing, Brother Charles? Brother Avery, Sister Faith and Hope. And we also have Sister Katrina, we have Brother Carl, and Brother Talbert, and Sister Kay, Brother Jerry. Greetings all, greetings all. So now that I'm on the highway, I won't be able to see who's in the chat room. But that's why we didn't come on live today, and I certainly miss going on live and just teaching. How you doing, Brother Neil? And so, but we tuned in today. We had that was a very, very good lesson, that we got live today. If you don't know it, we are very close friends and tight-knit as far as is working under and with the Israel of God. And so all of their classes tune in during this Black History Month. They let their screens down, and what they do is everybody tunes in and get these lessons for 5 weeks. It's a 5-part series. Today, we tuned into that 5-part series. But next week, we'll be back regular scheduled time, and we'll catch that video later during the day after our lunch period. So that's something that we love doing. It's cold here. The weather got cold for some reason. So when you look behind me and you see all of that cloudy, drizzling, all like that, that's how South Florida does. It could be 80s, and then all of a sudden it'll drop down into the 60s. It went down to 50 degrees last night. Yesterday's Bible study, what we did last night, that was some very deep drill down studying. And I really feel that there's a strong need for that. And so I'm going to spend a little bit more time doing that. I don't know if it would be 2.5 hours every night, but there are some things that we have to drill down into to get really understanding in the Word. Because I got inspired today from the lesson that was taught that we are the priest. We are the priest. The world has to learn from us. The reason why we have what we have now is because we're not doing the teaching. And to Israel, God gave the oracles to the understanding. He gave it to Israel. I'm not saying nobody else can't teach. I'm simply saying that you got to learn it from Israel, and what you learn you can teach. But right now, we've got people teaching Christmas, Easter. You can eat anything you want to. We all are under grace. You're dying and you're going to heaven. it's that's what we got. We got all of that now because Israel, who the oracles were given to, because the Most High said, I have never done with no other nation like I have with Israel. I have not dealt so with any other nation. Remember, it was Israel that he gathered around Mount Sinai. I'm dropping this, I'm dropping and chopping this up right now because we're in the middle of this man's so-called Black History Month. But it should be Hebrew Month. If we really want to get down to it, that's what we should get down to. Yes, Brother Reginald, a very, very good lesson today. And I was so excited. And that's why I realized that a lot of things has to come from us. A lot of teaching is going to have to come from Israel. And we have to know the book. Some things are inherent in us. It's just who we are. It's just what we do. The slaves, I did some reading and some research from a medical, what they call a white paper, a medical white paper. And in that paper, it indicated that during the early American periods, when it came to circumcision, all slaves were circumcised. All slaves were circumcised. It was just something that the slaves did. And it was because that's what they were taught. That's what they were taught to do. It was a part of the culture. Now, let me say this. A lot of the children who were 18, or let's just say 19, 18, 17 years old, those are the ones that was placed on that ship, separated from their parents, as low as the age of 12 years old. Because during the Spanish Inquisition, if the parents did not become baptized according to the Romish Christian doctrine, the kids were separated from them. So a lot of the children, they kept up with the practices. They knew. I mean, when a baby was born in a house, everybody knew, oh, it's a boy. Okay, he's got to go get circumcised. And they circumcised him. So I was reading this medical white paper that indicated that the highest percentage of males that were circumcised were the slaves. Now, why is that? Where do we get that from? That's who we are. That's who we were. That's basically what we do. That's it. When you also read the African Methodist Episcopal Church in their archives, they originally observed the Sabbath. That's what they did. But in order to be recognized, they went from the seventh day to the first day. Now that is in the AME, African American. It's called the African Methodist Episcopal Church. I'm not making this up. This is you. Unless you read it, you won't believe it. I'm telling you, it's there. The African Methodist Episcopal. It's the oldest organized Black religious church, the oldest in America. And when they started off, they were observing the Sabbath. And why? It was because they knew that the Sabbath was the correct day. So that's a historical fact. In fact, there was something on BET that discussed our history as being biblical. And I saw that maybe a few days ago, and there's also something called the Black, I think it's called the Black, with all the writers. Anyway, there was one that was on YouTube, and I came across it, and there was someone that wrote a book. Although first day they wrote a book that we are the original Hebrews. Now we know that. We know that. Those of us that have been awakened, we know that. But the point that I'm making is that a lot of eyes are starting to open. And when they do open, remember, it's our responsibility to return back to the Word. To turn back to the entire book, the laws and the testimonies. Because when we turn back, we will get to understand it. He's going to help us to understand. Because these so-called Romish Christians today, they're not going to change what they do. They're not going to change their practice. They have this thing. They want this thing. They want the Christmas. They want the bunny rabbit laying eggs. Everything is for the kids. Everything is for convenience sake. They want the 30-minute inspirational speech on a Sunday, and they want the choir to sing one or two songs, and they want to take up the 2 or 3 offerings, and they're out the door. They're out the door. It's gotten to that point in the 21st century. That's how fast people want to be in and out of a church. I was so proud of Bethel today that we had what we call a Bible lessons. We call it Sabbath school. We had that this morning at 10:30. And when we had it at 10:30, we went from 10:30 to 12. I talked right up until maybe 11:45, 12 o'clock. And then we always have praise and worship. We always have one of the elders that will come up and expound upon the commandments. We take the commandments very serious, and they will come up and they may talk and share information on one of the commandments or all the commandments, however they prepare themselves to do. And then we always have somebody give words of exhortation, whether it's in the form of a testimony or something that they're sharing. That's okay. So we always pick somebody to do that every week, and then we come with the lesson. Well, today, when we turned in and tuned in to the Israel of God, that was at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock our time, 12 o'clock their time. So there was some more singing and what have you, and quite a few of us stayed all the way till the end because they're so used to eating at 2:30. My lessons are usually about an hour and 15 minutes, hour to 30 minutes. So around 2:30 we let out and we feed everybody. So a lot of people, when they came to 3 o'clock, they were pretty much getting hungry. So some came and ate, came back, but we stayed. The majority that could hold out all the way to the end because it was such a beautiful lesson. And I say that I'm so proud of them because I'm just now leaving. Everybody was just still talking. There's a couple of singing groups. They were just practicing. The children were getting together, and it's around 6:30 I left. However long I've been on here, I poured out 15 minutes ago. And so we're not rushing the Sabbath. We're not rushing fellowshipping. This is a big event to us. This is a big deal to get together like this every Sabbath, to just get together and fellowship and to listen to and just going in and on the Word. And I told one of the elders, I have been in and out of this book all week, from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, last night, today. And let me tell you, I'm still not full. I'm still not full. It's just when it comes to the word, I'm still not full. You can just go and you can forget that you didn't eat anything because you can just keep going into the word, going into the word. If it's in you to be hungry like that, to want to just learn and keep getting it, you can actually go a day. When we have fasting on the Day of Atonement, we open up the Bible and we go into the book, and before you know it, the day has gone by. We're letting out. And by the time you get out and get ready to eat at the sun, when the sun's going down, you're not even hungry. Because it's like, man, you're just so excited about all the word that you've been sitting down and studying and just getting. And we take our time. It's like, we get the tables out and the elders come up and people sitting there, they're asking questions and we're breaking it down, and when you spend a whole day like that, from 11 to, we might get there at 11 and the sun goes down at about like now, during the time of Day of Atonement. And before you know it, 6-7 hours went by and it's time to eat. Somebody will look out and say, oh, it's service is, it's time to go. And so this is how we ought to be in the word. The scripture says in the last days, there will be a famine in the land, not for food, but for the word. And this is where, as Israel, as the people of God, it's incumbent for us to learn this word, know the word, study the word, study to show yourself approval, and really study it and know it and understand it. You don't have to understand the whole thing at first. The scriptures is not going to work with you like that. It doesn't work with anybody like that. You don't just wake up and all of a sudden you know everything. No, it takes time. And sometimes some subjects you need to stay on it for a week. Like let me tell you, iron sharpens iron. That means if I have to teach this subject for a week, it helps me. And it not only does it, me helping you helps me. It helps me to memorize it, know where it's at, get other things. And then when you're expounding on the same subject with everybody else, what happens is somebody else can show you some more scriptures. And at that point, you're like, wow, this Bible is amazing. So the point that I'm bringing it out is that to spend all of these past several days on this subject, the wilderness, the 3 days and 3 nights, what does the exit really mean? When is that true exit? It's into the wilderness. Everything is purposeful, meaningful. But once I got that and understand that, it's a beautiful thing. You just can't put the Bible down. It's I don't want to say it's an addiction, but it's a yearning inwardly, and us being Israel, that's what we have to develop. We have to develop that yearning to say our forefathers jumped off track, but the fact that we are the people of the book and we're supposed to teach the other nations, let me catch up. Pastor Bowie went into something today that I thought was phenomenal, and he went into the story of Solomon, and he says, let me show you an example of what we could have been as a nation of kingdom of priests. And he brought out the fact that the example was Solomon, how Solomon was the wisest man in the whole earth. The whole earth wanted to come and learn from Solomon. The whole earth wanted to come and they knew of his wisdom and his riches. And if you go back to the history of Solomon, he had an opportunity to ask for anything that he wanted. Anything you wanted. It says, just ask the Lord of, he's going to give it to you. Whatever riches you want, whatever you desire. And Solomon said, because he was over God's people, the Most High's people, he says, give me knowledge, wisdom and understanding that I can rule or over these people. And the prophet said, because you didn't ask for this or that, you didn't ask for riches, but you asked for this. Not only is he going to bless you with the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but also with riches. And so he talked about how Queen Sheba came and she says, man, I've asked you a bunch of questions. You gave me all my answers. And then she turns around and takes a look at all of his staff and saw how happy everybody was. And she says, the half has not been told. The half has not been told. Brothers and sisters, what I'm telling you is if we meditate in that word and get into that word and meditate in it day in and day out, come and just reason what we don't understand together in an amicable format, the people of the other nations is going to look at us and say, wow. And this is what the Most High said. He says, you'll be above every nation. And all the nations will say, wow, what a blessed people to have such great laws. And this is the light that we have to be today. All the way to the tribulation. Because when the tribulation, he's going to protect us. Well, just wanted to share that with you. I got my daughter in the car. I said, I'm not going to put you on camera, but she's listening and I'm pulling home. Thank you all. And next week we'll resume with you. Of course, you'll see me the rest of the week, but tuning in on the Sabbath, it will be next week. Peace to all.